Okay, so this evening is our last class, and so we need to, we need to get through quite a bit of material tonight. So we're just going to start with a very short meditation, and then of course, Zan asked me about my trip, what I was doing. So I thought I might just share that briefly in the beginning as well. Maybe I'll just share that now, and then we'll go into the meditation in the class. I just said to Zan, well, maybe a few other people are wondering where I'm going and what I'm doing. So, so just in a nutshell, so yeah, this is our last class. We have Sunday, we have the practice day, but I'm going to India and Nepal. So first of all, I'm going to India, Dharamsala. That's in McLeod in the north part of India, the hill station that was offered to His Holiness and the Tibetan refugees many years ago when they came over from Tibet. And so His Holiness resides there. He has a monastery there. And we have a centre there that many... Bay, have you been to Tishita? I don't think so, yeah? No. So anyway, we have a centre there that I actually did my first 10-day course at that centre because it runs continually almost these 10-day courses for Westerners. A lot of young people who are travelling, I mean, it's different ages really, who have time to travel in the East and they want to know a bit about Buddhism. They offer these ongoing introduction to Buddhist courses and they get like 80, 90, 100 people, most courses. It's quite amazing. And that's where I met the Dharma in 1995. So I hadn't been there since the last time, 2007. And then there was a set of teachings coming out with Chado Rinpoche. He's one of my teachers. That was actually, His Holiness requested his monastery, Namgyal Monastery, to invite Chado Rinpoche to give these initiations from the fifth Dalai Lama, a series of visions from the fifth Dalai Lama initiations. And His Holiness gave these initiations 20 years ago. So because he can't offer them anymore, because he's almost 90 and it takes 16 days, it's a lot of preparation for the Lama. You know, we go in the afternoons, but they have to prepare in the morning, so it's quite intense. So His Holiness requested Namgyal Monastery to request Chado Rinpoche to give them again, so that the lineage continues. So it's 16 days, I think, of initiations, and I'm fortunate to be able to go. I was going anyway to the East because our organisation has a meeting of all the centres that Bay knows about. It's called CPMT. It's like meeting all the centre directors and SPCs and teachers. And I think the last one was a good 10 years ago. And usually Lama Zopa Rinpoche would come. So that's happening in April. So I was going to go for that anyway. And then these teachings are happening just before that, these initiations. So I was able to go and attend those before. And then I go to this big meeting in Kopan, our mother monastery in Kopan, Nepal. It's a 6-day meeting with all these centre directors. And so I think there's going to be over 200 people there at that meeting. And then after that, it's Lama Zopa Rinpoche's second anniversary on April 13 since Rinpoche manifested passing away. So there'll be a lot of prayers conducted and offered at that time. So I'll be joining that. And then I was asked to help lead a pilgrimage up to Laudo. Some of you might have saw, I think some of you, Ladan, some of you saw the slideshow I put together for the pilgrimage. I went up to Laudo a year and a half ago myself. I've been twice up in the Himalayas, where Lama Zopa Rinpoche did retreat in his previous life. He did retreat for 25 years in a cave. And in his previous life as the Laudo Lama, the Lama of Laudo, Laudo's the name of the cave, just a small area that Rinpoche was in. So they've since Rinpoche came back this life and got back the cave, then they've built, his sister's been there mainly, his family built a retreat centre there so that we and others could go and do retreat. So you go and you can be in the cave and you also have your own room and you can do some practice there. There's a gompa. I mean, they've done amazing things because it's like 14,000 feet up. So to bring everything up the hill is quite an accomplishment because you can fly into, I mean, actually in the early days, you couldn't even fly into the hill station. It wasn't there. So you had to walk 14 days. Like one story is his brother Rinpoche's brother when they were building the Gompa in maybe the 70s, 80s. He had to carry a 75 kilo panes of glass for the Gompa, 14 days uphill to Laudo for the Gompa, for the windows for the temple. So like that, it's like mind blowing, really. You know how they used to have to bring things up there, but now you can fly quite a large part of the way. That cuts off about 10 days of walking, and then it only takes 3 days to walk up the rest, 2-3 days to get up to Laudo. But it's still a good trek, and you have to be careful, like, acclimatize. And so I think this time there's 25 people coming. So myself, another nun, Venerable Sarah, and then Cheryl Lama, a young Lama, who also in his previous life meditated in that area. He was Rinpoche's next door neighbor, next door cave neighbor. He had a hermitage about 20 minutes away in his previous life there. So he's also a young Lama now. He's about 30. He's been no, he's around about 30, 31. He was teaching recently in another center in the States. So he's also coming, and he will teach a little bit, and Venerable Sarah and I will lead some prayers and just sort of maybe take care of everybody because it's quite a feat, you have to be careful, many things, the walk. And my mum spent summer called Missouri. Okay, Missouri is that not in India? Missouri? Anyone know? Oh, interesting. Yeah. So yeah, it's another hill station. So
Yeah, it's in India.
yeah, I've never been to India. But anyway, yeah, there's a lot of different hill stations up in India. So, and also, of course, the one that His Holiness stays is called MacLeod Ganj. So it's MacLeod is a Scottish name. So I'm not actually sure of the history how it got that name, but I'll find out. So anyway, it's just a little bit of a nutshell. So I'm very fortunate to be able to go for that length of time, 2 months. It's like, wow, really lucky. I mean, I've been back and forward to the East many times. That's where I met the Dharma. I feel like that's my spiritual home, because that's where I met Buddhism, and it's like a total Buddhist country. So the devotion and faith of people is amazing, especially the older generation. I mean, they get up at like 4 in the morning and they're going around the stupa and they're doing their prostrations, and it's just something to behold, it's very special. Ladan, have you been to the East?
Sorry, I've never been to India. I was born in Iran, and I heard that in Iran, in older time, Buddhism was very spread in ancient Persia.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
Mhm.
and I've never been to India, but my grandmother used to bring me to see Indian film,
Okay, right. Yeah.
As I was a little child, and I was like crying, seeing all the Bollywood dancer and
Oh, okay.
so
That's sweet.
I was sensitive to this culture in my
Yes.
level.
So
But
you have a
no, I've
connection.
never been. I would love to be. I was writing, I'm rejoicing for you, Venerable. This is a beautiful life you have.
Yeah, no, I'm very fortunate. It's good to rejoice. Then hopefully you'll all get to go sometime, I mean, it is an absolute experience to go to the East. I really wish it for all of you because it's just, it's so rich, with once you have a connection with the Dharma and Buddhism, then it's like it's the home, India's the home of Buddhism. Even His Holiness says that, even though the Dharma was in Tibet for thousands of years, he always talks about how it was, it came from India, it came from the Indian masters, So India and then Nepal has a rich history with the Dharma as well. I mean, so many blessed places, I mean, when you get off the plane, you can feel the spiritual energy. It's tangible, you can almost touch and taste and breathe it, it's like so powerful. I mean, when I first went to the East, I wasn't really aware of, I mean, I felt like, wow, there's something here when I went to India. But because I hadn't met Buddhism at that time, I was just a seeker, but I wasn't completely, I didn't know much about Buddhism, but I could feel it was, you can feel the energy is just so special and light. And I mean, there's a lot of suffering around, there's no question, but when you tap into the spiritual energy, it's potent, you know, it's incredible. Asha?
Yeah, Venerable, two questions. So one, are you not going to be at Vajrapani next week then? Are you going to India next week?
Oh, are you coming for Copan West?
Yes.
Oh yeah, I'll be here. I'm not leaving till Wednesday. So I think I'm helping with some of the morning meditations. So you'll still see me for a few days.
Okay, that's great. I'm
Yeah, you'll
looking
still
forward to
see me.
meeting you.
Yeah, I'll still be here till Wednesday. I leave on Wednesday afternoon, so you'll still meet me then. I'm glad you're coming. That's wonderful. Great.
Yeah, me too. So I will miss the practice day on Sunday for this session. And the second one is that, so, I mean, I go to India every other year to meet my family, but in Mumbai, if I were to visit a monastery and take some teachings, what would you recommend in India?
In India, well, I mean, if you can go to McLeod Ganj or Bodh Gaya. Have you been to Bodh Gaya? The Bodh Gaya, so
No.
for everyone, Bodh Gaya is where the Buddha got enlightened. I mean, it's the most powerful spot, not just this Buddha, but all the Buddhas who come in that form, you know, who manifest kind of supreme nirmanakaya, those who come and manifest enlightenment when there's no teachings at all, you know, they all achieve enlightenment in this spot, you know, this holy spot of Bodh Gaya, and that's in Bihar. So Bihar is one of the purest, if not the purest state in India. It's one of the purest, which you might know that already, Asha. But it's, you know, the stupas there, it's very, you know, so many Buddhist pilgrims go there. Now, there are times of the year when it's very hot. So the sort of autumn and early winter are the best times.
Okay. And where to take any teachings if I were to spend a
Well, we have
week
a
or two?
center there. We have a center, Root Institute, and they run a lot of courses. And then there are monasteries around, but for you, probably, you know, our centre might be one of the best, but there are other lamas that offer teachings there. There are other monasteries. I don't know off the top of my head, but certainly around October through February, there's a variety of teachings going on in that place.
Root Institute?
Root Institute, yeah. And also around Bodh Gaya. And then, of course, the Dharamsala is another wonderful place to visit where His Holiness the Dalai Lama lives. And we have Tashita Meditation Center there as well. And they run many, many courses, you know, from maybe March through November.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, so anyway, thanks for your question. So that's just in a nutshell. Anybody else want to ask any more questions? Okay, good.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
Robin,
Oh,
did you have your hand up, Robin?
Yeah, I just wanted to say that if you could pass on to Charak Lama that I really, really enjoyed his classes. I attended them and I really thought that his process was really fantastic and that I thought he did a great amount of good at calming people in the community there and helping them see that anger is not the solution to the problem. So just please, if you can, just tell him that Robin was really grateful for the teachings and they were great.
That's
Yeah.
great. I'm
Yeah,
sure
he's amazing.
yeah. Dana?
yeah. I was just wondering, when are you coming back?
Yeah, that's also, yeah. So I'm coming back on May 14th. And I think within a few days, I'm leading a practice day. Venerable Sangye Kadro is going to teach the next module on Samsara Nirvana. So you're moving into the middle scope there. And thank you, Ladanya. Oh, bring you to Bodh Gaya. Okay, right. Yeah, we need to do a pilgrimage. Yeah, you need to do India and Nepal at the same time because you're over there, you know. It's kind of good to do both. So yes, I'm coming back. I'm May 14, if I'm still alive and things go okay. I mean, you never know, but you know, that's the plan. And I think around May 18, 19, we have a practice day because Venerable Sangye Kadro's teaching the module, but she's not able to do the practice day. So I'll be leading the practice day with you around, you know, 18, 19. And that module's it's through Land of Medicine Buddha this time. So I'm not sure if we're doing it in person or just online. I haven't got to that part yet, but I'll be leading that. And then we'll be moving into, within a week, I think within a week of getting back, we're starting on the spiritual teacher. So you have me for another module for the spiritual teacher from basically the month of June, May into June. That's about a 4-week class, again with a practice day. And then Geshe Lexog will be teaching 3 modules. And then I believe Joe.
Oh, that was quick. I've started recruiting for the Exploring Buddhism.
Yeah, I read your email today.
Yes, yes. What do I win? I win.
free
I
pass.
win my classmates for the next however many years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you get a free
And
pass, maybe, you know. No, you just get a lot of merit, Joe, for
I know.
encouraging people in the Dharma.
Yeah. Lama, no, Geshe Lexo, you mentioned, who's doing that. Did you say he's doing 1 or 2 of our
He's going to
discovering-
do the modules on bodhicitta, thought transformation, and emptiness.
Because another lovely synchronicity, I have 4 2008 mandala magazines just from 2008, and I looked at one today, and there's a profile, there's a feature about him.
Oh, great. Yeah. Okay. Well, karma's starting to ripen. So he'll teach those 3. And then I believe I'm coming back to do the last one on Introduction to Tantra. Yeah. Base nodding her head. Yeah. So we've got a little bit more variety moving forward. So anyway, that's just a sum up. So hopefully all of you will still feel inspired to keep going. It's so wonderful to go through the Lam Rim. I mean, we'll have to just keep always going through it, you know. That's the point, you know, and it gets deeper each time, more clear each time, more ingrained in our mind, in our heart. So anyway, that's the program events. So let's, just before we start, sorry, there's anything else? I'm seeing a lot of chats here. Is there anything else, Bea, I need to mention, or is it just all?
Just me posting links for resources. Sorry.
Yeah, okay, great. Thank you. Okay, so let's just take a few minutes, I think, to settle our mind, and we'll just do a short, it's 5-10 minutes of meditation, and then move into the class just to get settled a little bit. Okay. Okay, so taking a couple of minutes just to settle into the body and the breath. So someone mentioned in the assessments, I was just reading the assessments for refuge, about how sometimes it feels, especially with the lower scope, can feel a little bit self-focused, you know. We have to take vows, we have to watch our karma, we have to think about our death, And in some level it's true, it is a little bit more self-focused with the lower scope, because, in the beginning we have to understand how to take care of ourselves spiritually. If we don't know how to take care of ourselves spiritually, to take care of as Yangtze Rinpoche said recently in our Tara retreat, our karmic self. You know, right now we are in this place of being under the control of karma and delusion, anger, you know, attachment, desire energy. We need to be able to see that in ourselves. We need to be able to work with that within ourselves first, as well as recognizing, you know, with the precious human rebirth and death and impermanence, that we have this precious opportunity to do that. And we have Buddha nature that is transformative, you know, can transform, it helps. We can use that as a basis to transform and purify our anger, because it's not innately who we are. Attachment is not innately who we are. So even in the middle scope, we go into these delusions, you know, we need to go and we need to be able to recognize them in the mind and how they harm us, how they block us, how they keep us tied in the cycle existence. So it's true, you know, it is self-focused in the beginning, you know, in the sort of lower and the middle scopes. But that's healthy, you know, because then once we know how to take care of ourselves, how to work with our own mind, to see our attachment, our anger, and we even get a little bit of touch of taste of how ignorance clouds the mind, you know, keeps us bound in samsara, how it operates in our mind. You know, just getting a little bit taste or insight into that. Then we develop some compassion for ourselves, you know, how we've been blocked for a long time. That's when softness starts to ripen for ourselves, when we see, you know, how we're struggling under the control of these delusions. And then that struggle, that kind of softness opens out to others as we see others are struggling with delusion, struggling with their karmic self, which for many of us can be quite painful, depending on the karma we've created in past life. Depression, a lot of fear, anxiety, you know, constantly controlled by anger and agitation. So once we free ourselves in a healthy way from states of mind, they get thinner, our obscurations, our delusions, you know, in the middle, the lower and the middle scope. Then, you know, it's like real bodhicitta starts to happen, you know, in the higher scope. But even it says in all the texts, we can't really have bodhicitta and compassion without true renunciation for ourselves, you know, a true and deep understanding of our own samsaric process, our limited karmic self. So we always hold the motivation when we take refuge to want to benefit others, to develop these great courageous mind of bodhicitta. But right now, you know, we need to also make sure we take care of our own mind. We don't fall to the lower realms. We at least protect ourselves through taking vows. And we start to understand more and more our samsaric process in the middle scope. So all that's there, you know, but we need this step-by-step process to really understand and be able to see our own samsaric process. And that's when the compassion sort of naturally flows, as we see and release that within ourselves, step by step. So for ourselves and all beings, maybe we have the continual courage, determination, inspiration, joyous effort to keep practicing on the path, no matter how difficult it is, how sometimes we feel like we're not changing. Always find ways to inspire ourselves to practice. Always feel the guidance and the blessing of the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha in our lives, you know, it's there. We just need to open up and to that communication that they're having with us all the time, that blessing that's there all the time. So for myself and all beings, I take refuge, affirming a refuge, our spiritual refuge, chanting twice the refuge prayer, twice in Tibetan, once in English. O Sangye Chodan Sogi Chognam La Chanchu bardu dani kyabsuchi, dagi chinsoge be sonamge, drula penjir sange druparsho sange, chodan sogi chognamla, janchu bardu dani kyabsuchi, dagi chinsoge be sonamge, Drola penjir sange parshog. I take refuge until I'm enlightened in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly. By my merits of generosity and so forth, may I become a Buddha to benefit transmigratory beings. Okay, so last week we were going through the prayers. And again, I probably mentioned this last week, but it doesn't, whether you're doing Shakyamuni Buddha practice, maybe more, some of us might feel inspired to do Tara, the Buddha Compassion, Medicine Buddha, all these prayers are, they are present in all the practices. So you can use them. You'll find if you open up a Tara practice, all these prayers are here. If you open up a Medicine Buddha, basic practice, Chenrezig, these are all here. So you're not having to learn something new each practice. They're always there. There's maybe slight variations, but the basic, refuge prayer, 7 limb, mandala offering, always there in the practices. And I did mention last week that I would send some recordings of just the basic refuge prayer. 7 limb is good to do, I think, in English. There's not a really particular chant. And I think that's always good to do in English. And then the mandala offering, I send that, and as well as the prostration, Om Namo Manjushri. So I'm going to send those 3 along with Bay when I send the assessment. So I'll just send everything together. And I think Asha was asking about the prostrations, how you do the long ones. So again, I looked online and I couldn't find anything that was, it's not that the other ones are wrong, just there's always different ways of doing things, there's different, slightly different lineages. So, because Lama Zopa Rinpoche was my teacher. So FPMT, there's a specific way that Rinpoche likes us to do. So I'm going to have someone here just do a couple of minute recording of me doing it, because I couldn't find anything, that really fits. It's just a short recording. There's probably an extensive teaching on it, I think, by one of our monastics, but then you have to run through that. So just to give you how you do the long and the short, I'll make a short video so that you can send that off as well at the same time as the recordings. Okay, so just to remind me, did we start the 7 limb last week? I took a note that to finish the 7 limb, did we do? I know that we did the prostration because I went through how to do prostration. Did we do the? Did I do the offering? Does anyone remember with their notes? Stan, did you write down if I went over the offering part?
I got to just to the point of rejoicing in personal virtues and please remain until the end of cyclic repentance.
So we'll go back to the rejoicing. I thought we maybe got halfway through, but I wanted to check. So rejoicing in the virtues. I think just briefly, I think I mentioned that, Rinpoche's practice of rejoicing, first of all, when you rejoice in the virtues, what it creates is the cause to have the holy body of the Buddha. So there's one of these bodies that we've kind of touched on in some of the classes. What we're trying to achieve here, the ultimate goal is to get out of samsara. And if we're practicing the Mahayana path, developing bodhicitta, practicing the 6 perfections, which we're going to, go through in the higher scope, then what we're aiming for is these kind of bodies, these special bodies of the Buddha that I have mentioned in previous classes. There's the form body of the Buddha, and there's the truth body of the Buddha. And there's also something called the nature body. But that's why we have an image of the body, an image of the Buddha, and we make offerings. It's to create the causes to have those bodies. I mean, those bodies are born from wisdom. They're not born from karma and delusion. As you'll find in the middle scope, we already know, we heard, but our bodies are in the nature of suffering, right? I mean, they do get old. Hello, does anyone want to get old? No. If we would love to stay youthful and beautiful and pleasing, but no, we have to put creams. Well, some people didn't bother, but you know what I mean? There's a big thing these days. Beauty is a big industry because, yeah, everybody wants to stay young, you know, young, youthful looking. So, you know, but the way to do it is not creams, you know. I mean, of course, I'm not saying don't put some moisturizer and all that, but that's still not a long-term solution. You know, so one of the bodies that the Buddha achieves is called the enjoyment body, you know. So when I read that, you know, one of the, because I don't remember all the causes, different things, you know, but when rejoicing, it makes sense because then you achieve this kind of enjoyment body, you know. So it's like enjoying that the Buddhas are always in virtue, always thinking about others. The enjoyment body, every pore is just compassion for other beings, always in bliss. You know, it's quite incredible, and it's hard to really wrap our head around that's possible. But once we start shaving off the delusions, you know, once we start working with them, the mind gets anyway a bit happier. I mean, even some of us, I think, feel like when we think about refuge now and some parts of the teachings, it brings a bit of joy, yeah? So can you imagine the Buddha's filled with these 84,000 sets of teachings, all these qualities, all these realizations, you know? So one, you know, how do we keep creating virtue? One of our lamas, Zopa Rinpoche, used to say the lazy way to enlightenment, listen carefully, is to rejoice in others' practice. Rejoicing in others' qualities. You know, you can just sit in the sofa and say, well, I'm really too tired to go to class tonight, but I'm really rejoicing so much that everybody else is there. If we really feel that full-heartedly, it's like you create a lot of good karma, you know. And sometimes it's true, we're too tired or we're too this or that. I mean, being honest. But then we can just do, you know, rejoicing. So I always, you know, I think I heard that through Zopa Rinpoche years ago, and I always remembered that. Maybe I needed that, you know. Rejoicing in yourself, first of all. So there's 3 ways to rejoice. Rejoicing in one's own virtue, you know, precious human rebirth. We can go over all the points of the precious human rebirth and think how wonderful I've got that. How wonderful I've been born in a human. How one body, how wonderful, not just that I have the intelligence to think about the Dharma, to be able to meditate a bit, to hear teachings, to understand what creates happiness, what creates suffering. I mean, that can take you can just be doing that all day. And Rinpoche used to say you can do it like a mala. He would sit with us at pujas and go, how wonderful it is, and actually turn the beads like a meditation. Thinking about your own virtue, for Westerners, so important to start to, it takes a while, but to start to feel happy about ourselves, you know. I mentioned this many times, you know. Then rejoicing in others' virtue. You know, each of us here, all the Dharma brothers and sisters, all the Sanghas, all the, you know, anybody we know in this life who's, you know, maybe not even, don't have to be Buddhist. I mean, there's a lot of non-Buddhists who have better minds than Buddhists, you know, that can be true, for sure. Who have a lot of patience, a lot of just naturally generous. It's quite incredible when I see people like that. It's like, wow, you never got any teachings, but you just do that, you know. I needed all the teachings. So, and then rejoicing in the holy beings, the ones that are like really, really advanced. His Holiness, Lama Zopa Rinpoche, the saints of the past, the saints of the present, the saints of the future, Buddhist and non-Buddhist, who really, you know, really develop their mind in high qualities. So those are the 3 ways you can practice rejoicing. And again, even sometimes you might not feel it in the beginning, but the more you meditate, it's like everything, we have to bring it to it starts in the head, and then it starts to move down to the heart as we do all these practices together. Purify, accumulate merit, requests to the guru, and then meditation. That's the formula. Those doing the assessment, that's the formula. To write that down, to remember that. That's a formula for spiritual transformation. You need those 4 in there. And of course, attending teachings is going to teaching in class, that's you're purifying your mind by hearing other ways to think, you know, shifting your knowledge and your understanding. You can also meditate in the class as well, use it as a meditation. So that's 3 ways of rejoicing. Please remain. The next one, please remain until the end of cyclic existence. So that's requesting the gurus to always. So, you know, I think Stan asked me about requesting. It's a big topic, but requesting is so important, like here as well. I mean, did I mention the story last week about Ananda, Stan? I did, didn't I? Yeah. About
I think
Ananda
so,
not
yes.
requesting the Buddha to teach, and he regretted to sort of live longer, and he requested that. So even among some friends and Dharma friends, there's a lot of stories like that, when sometimes you feel like the teacher's given you this opportunity, this moment to request for a teaching or to live long, and you don't quite catch the moment, you know, and you feel like, I should have done it there, you know. There's times when you're in a teacher-student relationship and it's like, I should have said that there, and you come out and like, oh, I should have done that, you know. So it's very good. So when you do this every day, start this requesting, and it comes later as well. When you start requesting, it's creating this habit as well. So when you're actually in the presence of teachers, you just start to request them to live long. It's so good, you know, because many of our teachers are beyond, like the higher level teachers don't necessarily need to be here. They're already bodhisattvas. They can already be in the pure realms. So when you meet teachers like that, then you start to feel like, oh, I need to ask them to live long, you know. So when we do it in our daily practice, we're creating that habit. And also it creates the cause for us to also have this immortal body, the Buddha, to have a body that's beyond birth and death, to have a body that's, you know, it doesn't pass, you know, it's not in the, again, it's not in the, it doesn't, we don't have the karma no longer to experience birth, old age, sickness and death, you know, so we also have the karma for longevity. Long life, because Lama Zopa Rinpoche used to always say, so we would offer continually like long life pujas for Lama Zopa Rinpoche, you know, for his long life. It's a whole ceremony. It can take hours, and you offer many objects for the guru's long life, you know, that create auspiciousness. And Lama Zopa Rinpoche always used to say, this is all for your long life too, you know. I mean, Rinpoche would be like that anyway. He would be praying for all our long life, not his own. But we needed to pray for Rinpoche, but Rinpoche would always say it was for our long life. So that also creates a cause for our long life too. And eventually to have a body that doesn't die, you know, it's immortal. And to turn the wheel of Dharma for transmigrated beings. So again, in this case, we're asking the gurus to teach. It's like requesting. Here, what you can visualize. So when you can visualize, and it does have these visualizations, and there's a Shakyamuni Buddha daily practice that you can buy online, and it has the visualizations in there. So what do you visualize, Robin? Do you remember? For you're nodding your head for please remain until samsara ends. What do you visualize? Do you remember?
I think is it that you're supposed to imagine the white light streaming down? Is that correct?
Well, that comes a bit later. So when you do the Bay, what do you visualize? If you can, even if you just request to start, and then when you have more time, Bay, do you remember?
Sorry, can you repeat that?
What do you visualize when you ask the guru to, when you say, please remain until the end of cyclic existence? There's a visualization you can do with that. Do you remember?
Oh, I don't.
Oh, Urs?
Yes, you can offer a throne.
That's right. Yes. So you see, some of us, we see in meditation temples, there's thrones, but what's with the throne?
Lions, right?
No, yeah, it's true. Sometimes you see lion thrones, but not in this particular case. Urs, do you know what's there's a something, and actually when you go to Dharma centers, and even at, I'm sure at OCBC, they have like a cloth on the front of the throne and it has a symbol on it. Terry, you look like you might know. Do you know, Terry?
Is this the part where you're imagining all sentient beings? And the light from Shakyamuni Buddha is going out to all of the beings?
No, we're still on the 7 limb here. That's late, a little bit later.
Okay,
So
okay.
here, No worries. So here it does say when you back, get the thing. So what you can visualize here is a throne, because we always have it. If you go in any temple, now you'll notice, now that we've talked about it, but in the front of the throne, if you've got a Dharma center, you need to have a cloth. You buy this brocade and it's got a double dorje on the front. Like a Vajra. Like the Vajra and bell. Sometimes you see it pujas, but it's a double Vajra. So it goes this way and it goes this way. The Vajra. It's called a double dorje, and that symbolizes kind of strength and immortality, something strong. The dorje means something like it's difficult to, like a diamond, it's indestructible. So the double dorje means this indestructibility of the guru's life, like may it be indestructible like a Vajra, So that's what you can sort of imagine. May my teachers and all my guides and everything, may their life be indestructible. So you can visualize that if you've got more time, and if not, you just say the prayer. And then turning wheel of Dharma, what do we visualize here, Urs? I think you might know here. What would be the...
You can offer a Dharma wheel, like you say.
Yes, so
offering.
here sometimes you see images of the Dharma wheel. So you can also imagine that and so often you'll see at teachings, sometimes when you have high lamas, you'll see people offering them a wheel, a silver wheel, a gold wheel, or just like an image of a Dharma wheel. And that's like asking them to please teach the Dharma, keep teaching us, and that creates you also for the cause for you to always have teachings, like this teachings that you need. Because we need different teachings at different times, so that's also creating that kind of karma to always have, Dharma teachings that really impact and influence our mind, so that's that one. And then I dedicate my own and others' virtues to the great enlightenment. So there's always a dedication at the end. And we dedicate, just like we dedicate at the end of the day. And as we move into the emptiness module, I didn't include it too much, I think, in previous modules, but we try and dedicate with emptiness. But either way, dedication, what it does is it seals, it's like, sealing out all the contents of your practice so they don't fall out. It's like sealing an envelope, so whatever's inside doesn't fall out. So dedication has this kind of feel, you're sealing it and you're sending it off towards your enlightenment, yeah? You want to keep that there, these seeds sealed in there and dedicated for your and others' enlightenment. So it's that's what that does. It's sealing them so they don't get, you don't, you're not having, all the merit and the positive energy you've done isn't lost into some sort of ordinary thing, that's not really benefiting yourself or future lives, or other beings. So we want to seal it to dedicate, send the energy off in a way that's dedicated for ours and others' enlightenment. And as it says here, this is, as Rinpoche says, this is the basic practice for achieving realizations and enlightenment, the seven limb prayer. It's so important. And even as Robin was saying last week, she's reciting the King of Prayers. So even in that prayer, there's a more extensive seven limb practice at the start of that important prayer. So you're going to find, once you know these, refuge, seven limb, mandala, when you've got these down, you're going to see them again and again in practices. I think I showed you this last week. This is a picture of Rinpoche. Just encourage, Rinpoche always made extensive offerings all the time, as I mentioned last week. So this is a picture of Rinpoche being at the supermarket and buying lots of flowers for the garden. And Rinpoche would do extensive prayers and dedications. And it was our job to plant them all in the garden, take care of them, So this is just, Rinpoche was a perfect example of doing these seven limbs absolutely constantly and immaculately, offering, rejoicing. He gave us extensive kind of guidance on and teaching on how to use these in our daily life. And this is just one of Rinpoche's cuddly toys. So just encouraging us again and saying the best psychology is rejoicing. And it's really true, I mean, if we can really feel happy about our own goodness, that's the basic, that's us started the path, When you feel a sort of healthy sense of self, feeling good about our goodness and feeling clear about the things we need to move in our mind, in a healthy, clean, clear way. So rejoicing is really, really good. Like just every morning, as some of you I know are doing, we remember how lucky I am to wake up with the appearance of this precious human rebirth. Yes, Asha?
So Venerable, so this is daily practice. So you suggesting, so basically these are the daily prayers, the taking refuge, generating bodhicitta, and the 7-limb prayer.
Yes, that's right. If you can do that in connection with Shakyamuni Buddha, we'll do the whole practice. Oh, you will also learn, Asha, a little bit about this when you're in the Kopan West retreat, because we're going to go through the whole practice in the practice day. It is being recorded, so it might be helpful for you to watch it later as well after your
Sounds
Kopan West, because we'll
sure.
go through it all. And, you know, and again, also in the practice day, shortened version, you know, when you've got more time, when you've got less time, but we want to build up to be doing this on some kind of regular basis. You know, if you can't do every day, you can do shortened version and then do a bit more when you've got more time. Stan?
Yes, I've begun to at my shrine when I'm offering light or incense, and even when I'm most of the food I remember to I try to remember when I'm having food or drink to offer everything I have. But I'm wondering what exactly is the process. For myself, I just hold it up to my forehead and think I'm offering this to the Buddha, Dharma, and the Sangha. But I wonder if there's anything more formal or correct that I should be
When
doing.
you're offering, you mean like flowers? Well, you do when you do the food offering prayer, there's a food offering prayer you can say. Do you know that one?
No.
So I'll maybe try and send that to you,
Okay,
because there's an
thank you.
actual short, there's actually 2 or 3 verses, but I'll do you have the FPMT Essential Prayer Book?
I'll have to look in my library because I have a lot of things.
Yeah, because a lot of these prayers now are in that book, and you can I think it's $10 to buy it on our foundation store.
Okay,
So
I'll get that. if I don't-
including the prayer for the food offering prayer is in there.
So it's
All the
called,
Lam Rim prayers, and it's also the most up-to-date translations, because over
Okay.
the years some of them change. So it's really updated now, and since Rinpoche's passed away, it's unlikely that it's going to get updated much further.
Right.
And even if they update it, they tend then because you've bought it, they will send you the updated version now.
Okay.
So I would suggest that you get that book, because the prayers for offering food are in there.
Okay. And what's it called again?
The FPMT Essential Prayer Book. Maybe
Essential Prayer Book,
also, Bay, you could write that in the chat. And it's on our FPMT Foundation store, downloadable. And it also has the Shakyamuni Buddha practice in there.
Okay.
And many, many other, you know, it's all the essential prayers that you're going to want to learn over time.
Okay.
So that's in there. And so, yeah, also when you're offering, the main thing when you offer anything like incense, whether you're offering water bowls, incense, light, and you say Om Ah Hum 3 times to purify it. Because it purifies it, so it becomes, because we're trying to visualize, like we see incense, but how the Buddhas experience it is like, you know, we enjoy it, it's a nice smell and but the enjoyment of the Buddhas is so much higher, you know. So it's like we purify it, so it's like those syllables. I mean, actually, some of the lamas say, if you know, over time you can get you can end up with many commitments if you take a lot of initiations in this you know, in Tibetan Buddhism. You can end up with many daily commitments if you take a lot of initiations. So some lamas say if you really don't have time to do some of your commitments, you can say Om Ah Hum 3 times, because Om Ah Hum embodies all the teachings of the Buddha, you know. And but of course, if we were just sat here and, you know, I just said Om Ah Hum a few times, we're not going to get we're not going to get realizations, you know. But but you know, if you've got a very pure mind, mantras are like that too. So, but either way, so when we purify, so it purifies the offering into something pure that's suitable to be offered to the Buddha. And it also purifies us, you know, so our mind becomes pure when we offer it. So food, drink, anything, water bowl, always we say Om Ah Hum 3 times. We imagine it's really pure, really expansive, and then we offer like that. And thinking it's something like really pure and blissful to be offered to the Buddha, whether it's any type of offering. Does that help?
Yes, it does.
Okay.
I'm also, sorry to go on, but
Yeah.
every day I'm reading Lam Rim, 365 Days of Lam Rim, and it's when I pick up the book, I'm trying to develop guru devotion, and I touch it to my forehead and think I want to encourage devotion to these lamas, to these teachings, and I wondered if there's anything more to do with that. I mean, just to acknowledge that this is very important to me, and I venerate it somehow.
Well, there is more. I mean, certainly if you're going through the Guru Devotion section, you'll see the teachings on remembering the kindness and the qualities, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's a lot more you could do.
Of course.
But in the meantime, I think just doing these basic, definitely, I mean, I can also speak to you later again if you want, Stan, as well, because it's quite a big question. It depends how much you want to do, but certainly developing these daily practices of the context of, you know, refuge, seven limb, mandala offering, which we're going to do next, making requests, doing that on a regular basis, whether it's with Shakyamuni Buddha. There's also another practice called Lama Zopa Guru Yoga, that is very more related to kind of invoking the guru. They're all invoking the guru, but this one's a bit more connected to Lama Zopa. And you kind of want to feel a connection with Lama Zopa, but again, it's all the seven limb, still seven limb, still mandala, still making request. The seven limbs are a little bit more extensive, but if you wanted to ask me a little bit more about that, Stan, you're more than welcome to email me, because it's maybe a bigger question.
Yes, I understand.
But in the meantime, definitely these parts of your practice need to be there. And then within that, making requests for whatever realization it is you're working on, which we're going to get to as we move through this as well.
Okay.
Ladan?
My question is about the stupa, like representation of Buddha's mind, Buddha's holy mind, that we need to have it on our shrine, on our. I cannot find it. Sometimes I go on the boutique FBMT or another boutiques online.
Can you send me, Ladan, if you want to send me, we have stupas here. They're not always easy to find, but we have quite a few here. And also what you can do in the meantime is print out an image. One of the most powerful stupas is Bodhanath stupa in Nepal, Bodha stupa.
With
It's
the
very
eyes?
powerful. Yeah, with the eyes. There's that one, or there's Bodhgaya. You can definitely get images of those. So in the meantime, you can put an, you can, definitely an image is fine.
And the difference between the stupa and the stupa is the mind, holy mind, and the books are the holy speech.
Yes.
Okay.
Just representing the speech, all the teachings of the Buddha, you know, because what we want to achieve is the body of the Buddha, which is the, you know, all the statues, the speech of the Buddha and the mind of the Buddha. So we make offerings towards that to you know, every time we do it, we're creating seeds, you know, to achieve the body, speech and mind.
Yeah.
So that's ideal if you have those representations on your altar, because that's our journey, you know. That's where we're going. Please, I want that, you know.
Yeah, and I have a dorje and bell.
You can also put that on the altar as representation of the Buddha.
Yeah, but they said to me that it has to be covered. And so I covered it and I never see it. So I know that it's there, but I covered it.
Who says
Is
it
it
needs
like
to be
a
covered?
something?
Who says it needs to be covered?
One of my teachers said, like, you don't need to show it to everybody or like put it somewhere that everybody's seeing, touching, or.
Well, that's true. That's true. It's certainly in the context of retreat. But if it's your own personal altar and there's not like a dozen people walking past and you're not showing it off and you're not, it's more about with Tantra, you know, it is a more secret. We need to be careful with our sort of tantric items and keep it yourself. And But it's as long as your motivation's good. I mean, again, different teachers will say something different, but you're not putting it in a public place. You're not sitting outside where you're. So I think, you know, if you had people come into your house maybe, and they're not, you might want to cover it then, but day to day, I don't think it's, I mean, my sense is it's not necessary. As long as your motivation's correct, you know, you're not.
It's my personal space. Yeah.
Yes, yes. So I think
Okay,
that's
thank
totally
you.
fine. Yeah, yeah.
Thank you.
Joe?
I'm going to speak because I'm inspired by what Ladan said about the stupa. That was going through my mind. Now I don't have a stupa either, and I don't know where to get one. So I've started making one. Whoa! It's gonna fall. Oh.
Okay.
It's gone.
You'll have to start again.
Yeah. So anyway, I'm going to be sad now. I was making a stupa. I almost got to the top, so I'll have to do it again. It reminded me of that which was the person who his guru told him to build a house and then take it down and then build it and then take it down. That's been what my process of building the stupa.
Okay. It's the guru was Milarepa.
Milarepa.
Sorry, the student was Milarepa.
Yeah.
And the guru was Marpa. Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
well, I know how Milarepa feels. Anyway, I shall rebuild my stupa and I'll photograph it and I will put it in our WhatsApp group.
Okay, good for you, Joe. Good for you. So we've finished the 7 limb. We're moving on to the mandala offering. So we can see here, this is the image of what we're trying to visualize. So again, there's a more extensive commentary. Mandala offering can get very extensive, but right now we're doing the short mandala. So what we're basically, this is what the universe looked like at the time of the Buddha. It was the Mount Meru was in the center, and then you have these 4 continents around. So Mount Meru is the center part. The 4 continents are actually like the blue one with so the blue one is where we live. This is the southern continent. The one over behind is the yellow one, is the northern one. And then the eastern one and the western one and the white and the red, respectively. So there is, again, because in this class we have limited time to go into the real details of that. But basically, when we offer a mandala, it does mean, you know, so this is the kind of way it's described in the text. But I think just at our level, the whole practice of mandala is to create merit and purify. And it's also, again, it's a way of offering, you know. So it needs to mean something to us. What we're really offering is the world with so this is like a world system here, how the Buddha saw the world. And we're just a small part of that. We're just in the, you know, we're just here. Do you see my arrow here, my white arrow? My cursor, do you see that when I'm like, it's here? Do you see it there?
Would you please move it again?
You're not seeing it? No. Oh.
No.
You don't see it, no? Anyway, the southern continent is the one closest to us right now. That's where we live. And we just, so again, it's really fascinating to read the mandala offering commentary because it kind of blows your mind in terms of this. We know, even scientists know, this universe is huge. It's massive. We're just so small, you know, and there's many, many universes. We're in just one universe. And the continent we live in, this universe, is here. It's this blue one here. And the shape of the continent, they say, is actually the shape of our face. So our face, you wouldn't think it, but you know the shape down here, it's a kind of, I don't know what it is, it's a half circle with it's kind of depicting a little bit the shape of our face. And they say that all the other continents, they're shaped in the shape of the beings who live there, their face. You know, and each of the continents, different beings, have different lifespans, they have different bodies, they have different karmic dispositions, but we're born in this southern continent. So what we're offering here is the whole universe with all the beings. And also the side of this continent you'll notice is blue, yeah? That Mount Meru's in the center. And this mountain that kind of is you know, we circle around that. So the side of Mount Meru is blue, yeah? So why the sky is blue, they say in this commentary, is because the side of Mount Meru, the side that we're facing is blue, and that reflects on our universe, so the sky's blue. So I find that when I read the commentary, it was like, wow, this is really fascinating, you know? I don't know why scientists probably have another reason why the sky is blue. I don't know what it is, but there'll be a scientific reason. But from Buddhist cosmology, this is how our universe, just our universe looks, but there's billions of universe. And we're on one continent. And even within this continent, there's two, what you call these two small ones are subcontinents. And, you know, up here's all the different God realms on the top, you know, with all the different enjoyments. So what we do when we offer a mandala is we put our hands together. We say this ground anointed with perfume, but we imagine the world that we offer when we put and I'm going to show the mudra on the next slide. We put our mudra together. And we imagine a ground anointed with perfume, strewn with flowers, adorned with Mount Meru. So our fingers in the center are Mount Meru that are standing up. And then all these fingers join together, the 4 continents. So I led a ritual training. Tommy was at the ritual training. Bay was there as well. And we went over a little bit more of the mudra, how you do that, because we're creating merit with our body by offering the mudra. Usually you put your mala over as well, your hands, when you do the mudra. So you're offering something in the mudra as well. And then we've got Mount Meru, 4 continents, the sun and the moon. Well, we do have the sun and the moon in this universe. We see them, yeah? And then we imagine all our universe. So everything that appears to us for as much as we can imagine, but we imagine it like a Buddha land, really pure, magnificent, with lots of enjoyments. Like, what's the most beautiful park we've been in, the most beautiful flowers we enjoy, the most beautiful smells we enjoy, and also things that we're attached to, food that we're attached to. So we just make this as kind of bountiful, this offering as possible, as well as all our own things that our body. You know, there's actually a whole mandala offering where you offer your body. You imagine your body, your arms, your legs and everything, but offering it in a pure way, you know, something that's enjoyments for others. So the main purpose, well, there's 2 purposes of mandala offering. It's to create merit, goodness, and also to remove attachment, you know, to purify attachment to our body or our possessions. So we start by just visualizing an offering to the Buddhas, the deity, whoever it is in front of us. And imagining everything that we're attached to, but something much more pure, much more extensive, much more enjoyable than even we enjoy. And we offer it to them, and we imagine all beings enjoying that place, that offering. So that's the kind of essence of the mandala offering, just trying to get a sense of that. And I mean, you know, some days we don't have time to do something extensive. So you just think about, well, you know, maybe I'm attached, too attached to money. So I'm going to offer my bank account in there today, you know. I'm too attached to my food, you know, cakes or chips or salts. I'm going to offer that today with just all the universe and all the contents. You know, you can focus on different things in different days, you know, what's coming up for you in terms of clinging, attachment. Maybe I'm over-attached to my body and how I look, so I'm going to offer that today, something beautiful, but to others. I'm going to offer it to others. So you can add in things. One teacher who helps to put some of the summaries together, she was building a house, you know. So she said she offered her house, a future house in there, you know, so she wouldn't be too attached to it in the outcome. She was building a retreat house. So it's like that. The purpose, it's getting the purposes is to release attachment, and that also to create merit by offering something really nice, you know, not just how we see it, but how the Buddhas would enjoy it. And as much as possible, wanting others to enjoy it too. So that's a kind of the essence of the mandala offering there. Now, in terms of the So there's also an example to explain it, you know. So we might not think, oh, visualizing, but it doesn't mean much. But there's a story at the time of the Buddha where one young boy, the Buddha was, you know, walking through his village, and one young boy wanted to make an offering to the Buddha, and he didn't have much, you know. So he grabbed a handful of sand. And he reached out and he put that in the Buddha's begging bowl, but he visualized it like gold, you know, because he didn't, I mean, I guess he felt like when also when you're in the presence of holy beings, from my experiences, you feel like you want to offer something. I mean, even when you get teachings, you know, and you feel like it touches your heart, you feel like, oh, I want to offer something to that being, you know. So when you're in the presence of the Buddha, can't imagine, or His Holiness, there's a sense like you want to offer something precious to them. So I'm think from the heart, the boy offered this sand. That's all he had, but he thought, like, oh, I wish it was gold, you know. And he put that in the begging bowl of the Buddha. So it's said that because of that offering and visualizing it like gold, even though he didn't have gold as the base, but visualized, he was later born as the great King Ashoka, who built all these stupas that still stand today around India. And he was also he had so much wealth that he was able to offer a lot of service to the Sangha, and just to the teachings, the Dharma teachings in general, because of that offering and that pure motivation he had. You know, I think along with the faith and devotion that really wanted to offer something precious to the Buddha, even though he didn't have it, the visualization created a strong seed in his mind to be able to have great benefit in the future in India and for the teachings, the Dharma, the teachings of the Buddha. So we don't need to think, well, I don't have much, you know. Of course, we offer what we can, and then this is where we can create a lot of merit by visualizing gold and precious things within the mandala that we want to offer. And that creates a cause for us to be able to offer much, much more in the future. Lama Zopa Kappa offered something like over 1 million mandala offerings. You know, that means doing this practice many times, but there's also a mandala base you can use, which comes more in the, you know, when we go into the final module goes into these more extensive preliminary practices, mostly prostrations and Vajrasattva, but it may also, I think it touches on the other ones, you know, and one of them is offering mandala as a preliminary practice. You offer 100,000, you know, and you use an actual mandala plate and you do these different kind of, you offer it in a certain way physically, and you have many stones, or you can use rice, and these things help with the visualization. So at that level, it's a bit more extensive, but we start here by just the basic offering the mandala. And of course, this is something that's done at the start of teachings. When you attend teachings with, you know, lamas, teachers, we haven't done it so much here, but we usually offer a mandala at the start. Maybe we'll start moving into that since we've practiced, you know, we've covered this preliminary practices and you get familiar with offering a mandala. So you can see the mudra here, how to do, hopefully. You might want to take a picture, or would it be helpful to some of you? Would it be helpful to you if I send that image to you? Does anyone need maybe a copy of the image? Yeah, I'm seeing some nods. Put your hand up. Yeah.
Yes, please
So maybe
send
we'll
it.
send that to you as well. When I'm sending other materials, I can send a copy of this so you see a little bit how to do. I may even, maybe if I remember, I can make a short video so you can see it as well. Because this is a very good one to learn as well. All these are the fundamental prayers that you need to learn, you know. Because then when you attend teachings, your daily practice, and I mean, it'll just start to, you know, be second nature, you know. These are the fundamental prayer, these little short mudras, prostration mudra, and then you start to feel like you're a little bit equipped with your practice, you know. And then you can add, once you've got them, then you can add on, you know. So that's the mandala mudra. And it helps your visualization when you're moving your body, you know, putting your body into this posture. Helps to visualize, keep the mind concentrated when you're offering the mandala. So just again, going over what we just covered. the 6 preparatory practices: cleaning the room and arranging the altar, obtaining offerings, should be obtaining really, not attaining, adopting the meditation posture and generating refuge and bodhicitta, invoking the merit field, which again can be Tara, Medicine Buddha, Chenrezig, Lama Zopa, depending on the practice. Here we're using Guru Shakyamuni Buddha, offering the 7 limb prayer and mandala, and then making petitions or requests. So, any ideas why we make requests? I know, Stan, you asked last week, but what's our experience? I've already mentioned some reasons why we make requests, but anyone else? Any other thoughts? So making requests, really, as I've touched on, it's like, first of all, it's reminding ourselves what we're doing here. You know, I'm doing all this because I want to get realizations. I want my heart to change. I want my heart to develop in the spiritual path. So we're communicating and reminding our inner self, consciously, subconsciously, what it is we want, why we're doing this. And again, as Lama Zopa Rinpoche always says, we shouldn't feel lonely because the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas are always with us. It's just that we don't feel that all the time, yeah? But the more we do these prayers, these practices, we take refuge, we take vows, we start to feel that, and we're communicating. That's when the communication with the Buddhas start, taking vows, watching our karma, doing these courses. Everything's building up, this communication, this feeling that we are in the presence of these Buddhas, these holy beings, these Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. They can hear us. Even if we don't see or hear or know what's going on with them, they know what's going on with us. And so making requests again is like we're always opening up that communication. Hello, this is what I really want. It's reaffirming what we want in terms of the request, the content of the request, and it's asking for that. And it's creating this familiarity. So when we are in the presence of a holy being, we remember. It's like we have this habit of, requesting advice. Why do we go and see beings? Because we want to get their advice, What do we practice? We want the advice because we want to develop our minds in the path, in the Lam Rim. We want their support, please help us, please support us. Even His Holiness now His Holiness the Dalai Lama doesn't teach so much anymore because I think the whole they want His Holiness to live as long as possible. His Holiness wants to live as long as possible. His Holiness has said many times that he has many dreams and signs that he'll live to 110. But what they do for His Holiness is do many long life pujas, requesting him to live long. Many students constantly want to do long life pujas. Please live long, please, because His Holiness, he's no longer, not that His Holiness might say that, although he has made many indications more recently, but he has the ability, they can pass away at any time. They're beyond. If we don't have them as an example of being able to do that, then how do we ever feel that we can do that, So that's what's precious about this tradition. We have masters who have those abilities. So, but we need to ask them to live long then, because who wants to stay in a suffering old body, But they'll stay here because of the power of compassion for us, but we need to ask for that. And it's just opening our hearts to go more deeper and more sincerely in our prayers, really feeling like we want to transform. It's opening up our devotion and our hunger. It's like expressing our hunger for realizations. We want that. And as Stan said really beautifully, that develops and grows over time, but just feeling like I want to develop this quality guru devotion. And, that's another way expression, is putting the text to your head, like His Holiness do. These great lamas are always putting the text to their head and making prayers, they're always making prayers and requests all the time, So that's, of course, it has to come naturally. And I think we are all doing it on some level, But so it's just part of the practice, making requests. And we are developing a relationship. Like if we do Tara practice, Tara practice has many of these 21 praises to Tara. And each one of them is really a request. We're praising her quality of the different Tara and saying, may you give me that, or may you help me, may you support me with that quality, and may that ripen in me. So it's all there, you know, the praise and the request. It's like we want that in ourselves, you know. And really, they represent the journey, you know, the Buddhas represent the journey we're on. I think Yangtze Rinpoche expressed it like that. So of course, you know, we want to keep saying, please keep helping us. You know, we need a lot of help on that journey. And the more we request help, it's like it's this openness, this devotion that gets us that blessing and that constant help and support wherever we are. We're opening up a relationship with the guru, with the teachings, with it, wherever we are. We're just continue open and deepen that relationship, and that's what requests do. They open and deepen. The other praxis are creating an environment, and they're all it together is creating this environment and this opening and deepening and hunger within ourselves for those spiritual transformation. Not like too much grasping and clinging like I want it right now, but just constantly creating this habit of requesting, and it's just all comes together really nicely. It's just a whole package that brings about the transformation. I mean, even a Sangha, so it's like the story of Sangha, you know, I've mentioned it in the past, I've told it before in a few classes before, when he was praying he went off to a cave. He was a great scholar, and then he decided that he wanted to have a vision of Maitreya, you know, so and this was like in the 2nd or 3rd century. So he went off to his retreat cave, and he came out of the cave a few times and still didn't have any vision of Maitreya. He wanted to receive teachings from Maitreya Buddha directly. And he would come in and out the cave, and he would see these beings who were like doing really odd things, like, you know, rubbing a rock with a feather to make a needle. And he's like, oh my God, if they can do that, then surely I can go back and, you know, keep meditating, because he kept getting discouraged after a few years because he wasn't having any signs of Maitreya Buddha. And then after 12 years, of course, he comes out of the cave and sees this dog that's really sick and maggot ridden. And, you know, out of great compassion, he, you know, helps the dog, and the dog transforms into Maitreya, because at that time, his mind was purified. So he'd been making many requests and mantras to see Maitreya and do, but it took a long time for his mind to purify. But even at that time, when Maitreya appeared to him, he says, I've been with you all the time. You just didn't see me. You didn't have the karma. But he did appear to him when, you know, somebody was rubbing the rock to make with a feather to make a needle. He said, that was me then. You know, I manifested for you then, but you still couldn't see me at that time. So Maitreya was with him the whole time, you know. It's just that he needed to keep doing the prayers. So the karma does shift and change to be guided, you know. But it's just, we keep making these petitions and requests, and we're constantly opening up with this communication with these Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. They definitely hear us. There's no doubt, no question. I mean, sometimes even, you know, sometimes I would be in a couple of times with 2 or 3, you know, really high Lama teachers. I would, you know, I might not see them for a year or 2 years. And then, of course, I've forgotten something that I've done or thought or said, and then all of a sudden they sort of bring it up, and I'm like, oh my gosh, they know I did that. I mean, I was somewhere else over the other side of the world, you know. I wasn't anywhere near them. So sometimes, you know, they show their sort of level of clairvoyance or whatever. So we are fortunate to have teachers like that who have that ability, you know, to know what's going on with you. I don't know how they know it or how they do it, but they have that quality and ability, and they'll show you at a certain time when you're ready and when you need that, you know. So it's just to say, you know, so the requests and the prayers kind of continually open us up to receive that guidance. Does that help, Stan?
Yes, very much. I appreciate it.
And as I say, it's mentioned as a separate one, you know. You have the purifying. How do you develop in your practice? You purify, you collect merit, you make requests, and then you meditate. So it's so important that it's separated. It's not just like in the 7 limb or in the purification or it's actually separate. So, and that's what Manjushri told Lama Zopa Rinpoche. So it's just that's why it is so it's very important, you know. So it's even separated from purifying, collecting merit. It's like on its own to show its importance.
Right.
I think Robin had a
For us.
question.
Yes, babe?
Robin had a question.
Okay, Robin, and I see Dan's hand up as well. So we'll
Yeah.
start with Robin.
Yeah, so I have been saying the King of Prayers every morning and every night. And my neighbor just randomly was in their driveway a couple days ago, very upset about something and like really losing it, like not in a good way. And I tried to calm them, and then I went down to my house and I said the King of Prayers. And then the next day I reached out to them to ask if they were okay, and they were very not okay. And asked if I would dare to come see them at their home. And I don't know this person very well, and I'm moving away soon, but I figured I should go. And I went, and they were in real crisis. They were really upset and drinking a lot of alcohol alone. And I stayed with them for a while, and then I asked them to eat something, and then I went away and I said the prayer again. And then I went back, and when I went back, they requested that I take the alcohol away from them. And I felt that this was done by the prayer. Is that possible? Because I don't know this person at all. I've maybe talked with them twice. And for some reason, they made themselves available to me and then almost dared me to come see them in this crisis moment. And I was able to be present without becoming overwhelmed. And that was my motivation for attending this class, was to be able to be present for others when they're suffering, because it seems like people are. And so is it possible that my prayer was answered? That was my question.
Not being clairvoyant, you know, but, you know, definitely you can see, I mean, these prayers all have a power, you know. The King of Prayers is one of the most powerful prayers out there, you know, actually, dedication prayers, you know. So I think it's definitely possible you're reciting that prayer has benefited that person. It's created created an environment or an energy, at least for that person to feel peaceful at that time. So I think just take that as a win, and take that as something positive and inspiring for yourself, you know, and for that person. Because our prayers definitely benefit. I mean, that's the whole point, to benefit others. All these prayers have that kind of power.
So the other question I had related to it was that this person's karma and their struggle that they were confessing to me, which I did not even know was related to something that occurred here in town. That was a bad event. And I've met two people associated with this terrible event who both had suffering karma. And I was curious if negative karma can extend beyond one person to many and then into a place. Because there's no reason that two people associated with a specific event would know me personally. There's literally no reason. It seems accidental.
In negative karma, each one of us have our own karma, but we can share a similar karma. So we can share all like experiencing something very difficult together. I mean, like the whole of Tibet are experiencing something very difficult together. They have their own slightly different like group karma, you know. So definitely people can experience a group karma. Like an earthquake is a group karma. You know, everybody has an earthquake in the country, but everybody experiences it slightly differently, you know. But then that group, that city, all had the experience to have an earthquake. Does that help? Is that answering your question?
Yeah, this was something that occurred right before I moved here, and I think it touched a lot of people. It was a very tragic event, and these two women that I met were both directly associated with this terrible murder, essentially.
Okay,
And
yeah.
so I didn't know of it until I moved here, and then sort of in the last 2 years, two people that were directly related to the murder victim have come into my life, and in both cases, I've tried to be very aware of it and say, it wasn't your fault, which seems to be what people carry with them. And so it just struck me that I had been, basically, I said to her, you know, karma is huge and you can't possibly take responsibility for this action, but you could stop drinking that tequila. And then she did.
Oh, wow. Okay. Great. Well, you know, the more we do prayers, we more take refuge, we take vows. our words become more powerful, our presence becomes more powerful, you know. So if we keep good morality and good speech, you know, the more we you know, have good speech, you know. Also, Lama Zopa Rinpoche has a practice of blessing the speech in the morning to make our speech more powerful. But the more we have good speech and just the power of taking refuge, holding vows, I mean, it means that we have more presence and more power to benefit others. So that much more we keep morality and do all these different prayers. I mean, that's the point. The prayers have an energy where it creates peace in the environment. And that's where, of course, when you come, I mean, when you come to Vajrapani, you come to the centers, you feel a peacefulness because of the power of everybody's practice. So definitely. Thank you. Ladan?
Yes, my question was, I remembered the previous question from the
Yeah,
last
last week.
two. But the first one, before I forgot, when we request, like we request Buddha to not to go to stay in nirvana and come back, and we request teaching, and we request long life. Is it a package, or we can choose one of those? I don't know.
It's good if you can do all, I mean, the 7 limbs a package. Yeah. But you know, some mornings, if you're really busy, maybe you read it all, but you just think about one, you know. I mean, and also if you can't do it every day, then again, you do what you can, but ideally if you can just touch on each one. And the thing is, the more you get familiar, it's like learning to drive a car. You know, the more you
It
get
comes
familiar,
automatically.
it
Yeah.
just, you know, it comes, you know, you know, few 30 seconds on rejoicing, 30 seconds on, you know, you've got this and you offer, and it's just feels a bit clunky in the beginning, but through familiarity and practice, it can flow, you know, it starts to flow quite easily, you know. But again, even in the morning, if you don't have time to do the 7 limb, maybe you do it once a week when you have time to do a longer practice, and you just do the refuge and the mandala offering, you know. So there's ways we have to work with the time we have, but I would definitely say at least once a week to try and do all these prayers. You know, you kind of have to. If you wanted to keep developing in the Lam Rim, we need that basis of purifying and collecting merit. And of course, if you're doing already like a preliminary practice like prostrations, or, you know, that's wonderful because you're doing a lot of purification there, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. And the other question was about when we were talking about prostration and its antidote for pride. I wonder if the pride is the one thing that make us reborn in the God trap.
Well, to get reborn, it's not the main cause to be reborn there. You've been morality. I think it's the main cause is like practicing a lot of generosity. That's one of them. There's probably other causes, but you know, pride wouldn't be the cause. I mean, you might go there, and because you're there, the pride comes up, you know, because you've got all these enjoyments. It's more about just being completely immersed in the enjoyment, you know.
Enjoyment.
You know, you're just so immersed, like we see in this realm. I mean, people who have a lot of wealth get completely immersed in that, and they have no, it's just their world, you know. You're just in that and sense enjoyment all the time. So it does come from, you can also be born there for having quite a virtuous life, you know, for sure.
But don't like, how do you say, they don't put it in the virtues of the Dharma. They just searching for, like, the energy of their mind is like pleasure, 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 and they are generous and they are kind and all of this, but they don't redirect them. They don't guide their energy to the Dharma practice.
No, I mean, there's a story of a student of the Buddha. At the time of the Buddha, he used to ride on an elephant, and every time I saw the Buddha, he would get off his elephant and, you know, prostrate and really, you know, respect the Buddha. So that's a lot of virtue. And due to that virtue and many other virtues, he was reborn in the God realm. And supposedly, I think one student, I think maybe Shariputra or Ananda, one of the students of the Buddha, went up to get him there. And he just looked at them and kind of shoved them away, you know. He was so involved in being in the God realm that he wasn't, you know, there wasn't any spiritual interest in that rebirth. Generally, there's not any the way the karma ripens is there's no spiritual interest in that rebirth. You know, one just gets absorbed because also we have a beautiful body and everything's enjoying, you know, women and, you know, all the sense enjoyments are there. So there's just the karma being absorbed. It does come from incredible virtue and good karma. But that's why dedication is so important. Because if you don't dedicate your virtues in a certain way, they can ripen in like a God, like a heaven realm.
Yeah,
But
it's
then in that
incredible.
realm, you use up your merits and eventually, you know, your body, I think the last 7 days of being in the God realm, your body starts to, all your fine dress starts to fall off and you do start to age and smell and decay and nobody wants to speak to you. And you have incredible suffering because you know that you've also got some clairvoyance to see that your life's ended here and you're going into a lower rebirth. Even some of the lamas say, some of the God realm beings, they have clairvoyance. So when they look it down in the human realm, they have to hold their nose, you know, because their bodies are like perfume and scent and there's no smell, no, you know, they have really nice bodies, but it doesn't last. Like the Buddhas last forever, you know, and it's still a whole other level of body. So so that's what I think for me, that's what the Christians talk about heaven is like the God realm. You're going there, you know. I mean, maybe they're talking about some pure lands, I'm not sure, but I always correlate it with the experience of what they call heaven. You know, you go into this heavenly place and everybody's just having these heavenly enjoyments all the time. You're completely absorbed in that. But you're just using up merit and good karma, as you see people in this realm who have incredible wealth, you know. But if they're not using it for virtue, then they're just using up their karma, you know. So that's kind of the story of samsara, up and down, and all in the realms of existence. Even when in a human life, you can go up and down in terms of your, you know, health and wealth and all these things, you know, going up and down all the time. So changeable.
Thank you.
Okay, so I just want to briefly touch on why chanting, because, you know, the part of this is if we want to do these prayers, part of it you don't have to, but I'm going to send you the recordings. And I know a couple of you have shared that you do chant some mantras in the refuge prayer. And so you can do this, or you can just read in English. The main one is the meaning, you know, but why we chant is because, you know, first of all, if you chant it nicely, just like we offer flowers and incense and lights, if you chant it nicely, Lama Zopa Rinpoche would say it's like an offering to the merit, it's offering to the Buddhas. You're offering your speech. You're offering your devotion and your faith behind that. And that way we collect merit, you know, it's something pleasing to hear. And if other people hear you and they enjoy your chanting, they also, you know, you create merit from that. And also if you chant mantras to your dog, you know, you create merit from that. You know, it's so good to chant mantras to your animals, your pets, birds you see outside, whatever, so beneficial. Rinpoche would spend long time chanting mantras, reciting sutras to animals and pets, and as I've said before, it purifies our mind. I find chanting helps. If we do it nicely and slowly, it can help to settle, it can actually help to settle the mind into meditation. And these chants, they're not just made up by me or a few of us here. They come from a lineage of chanting way back to great masters, you know, who heard these from Dakinis, heard these in the ethers of the holy beings, you know, or they come from the realizations of other holy beings. So they have a sacred quality to invoke the blessings from these beings. So it's not just, you know, making up our own chant. They have this power within them to invoke these blessings. It comes from the power of the realization. So that's what I said already. And that, yeah, sometimes chanting, it can help us to memorize, you know, just saying, you know, if you want to learn a couple of prayers in Tibetan, and if you just sit and go, sang, ye, cho, you know, I couldn't learn it that way. I've learned all the chants. I've learned some of these prayers just you chanting them. There's actually 21, the 21 Tara praises, it's 4 lines, just like we have the refuge mantra prayer, it's 4 lines. Well, the Tara praises is 4 lines of 21. So, because there's 21 taras and there's 4 lines to express the qualities and ask for the blessing each one. And I just learned that through chanting it for some years. I didn't sit down and I'm going to memorize the 21. I mean, no way, you know, because I don't speak Tibetan. And there are actually English chantable versions for some of these prayers as well, which are also good to do. Tara praises, there's English chantable, even the refuge prayer. But I think for us, at least to learn the refuge and the mandala offering in Tibetan is really good, because then when we're at teachings with lamas, when the lamas are there, we're mostly going to do it in Tibetan, because that's their language. So it's nice to have at least learn a few of the prayers in Tibetan, but there are English chantable versions of some of these as well, not all of them. Yes, Stan?
I'm very intrigued by the notion of the tunes having power as a musician. And so I'm wondering, where does one learn the tunes and where do they come from exactly? I mean, they're not written out, I presume.
Yeah, so the Sangye Chodang, I don't know the lineage of that tune. Actually, Lama Zopa Rinpoche has his own chant for that one. But some of the chants, when we get on to Sangye Chodang, I think it's just very common within the Tibetan Buddhist tradition, that chant for refuge. I don't know the exact lineage of it, like where it all the way. I know the refuge prayer came from Lama Tisha. And I know that this main chant, how we do the refuge, is in the main one in the Geluk lineage, you know. I mean, even when you go to His Holiness, that's a similar one. Some of the monasteries develop their own chanting because their lamas in that monastery have had visions, you know. So even Lama Zopa Rinpoche, he has some of his own chants that we use. But the one that I'm going to record is the main Geluk one that you hear. Lama Zopa Rinpoche also had his own chant of refuge, which was a little bit more slower. And then the mandala offering, there's a couple of chants I'm aware of that one, but I gave you the main one that you would usually hear in teachings, just because if you get too many, it's, you know, it gets overwhelming. And there's another one that they use in the Tara praxis that probably came from the lineage of Tara masters, you know. So, and sometimes it's in the Lama Chopa, it's a more extensive practice. There are actually places where Lama Zopa will say this tune came from this Lama, this one came from this lineage. But for now, the 2 main ones I've given you are the really main ones that are used in the Geluk lineage, that are sort of just, you know, the basic ones that you're going to hear most of the time. I thought if you get those ones first, then you can start adding, you know.
Yes.
Does that help?
Yes, absolutely. Thank you.
But different, you will, even in the Geluk lineage, sometimes you go to a different monastery. The big monasteries, the 4 big monasteries, and they'll be doing some of the chants slightly differently, you know. Not for all the practices, but for certain ones.
Yeah. Almost like
I've had a lot of experience with that, going, I'm like, oh, that's not the chant we use, because it's a different, you know, a different Lama and their lineage had a different vision, and that's the one they use. So
yeah, very much like regional variations.
There are variations, yeah, but definitely the 2 that you've got are really sort of key ones, main ones that you would find in the Geluk lineage at the teaching.
Where do I have them?
I'm going to send these a recording of these chants by next week, yeah.
Thank you so much. And
also chanting, it depends, not all of us feel inspired by chanting, that's okay, but it can make you feel happy when you chant, you know. It makes you feel blissful and happy. So to go into, we have another 20 minutes. So just, so that's giving you the kind of key points for any of these practices, you know, the key meditations, the key things you need to have in your basic daily meditation, or at least once a week meditation. We have a few more of these prayers. So other things we need for our meditation. things that might help your room. So again, this lady Kendall, who put some of the notes together for this course, one thing that I wouldn't have thought of that she suggested, like when you want to meditate, you know, one thing you want to be aware of, and it is true, like how much lighting, this is just practical things, you know, how much lighting, some practicalities, and then a wee bit more into like bringing your practice together. Lighting in the meditation room, you know, some of us like a lot of light, some of us like less light. So when you really want to do a little bit of meditation, sometimes we get more sensitive to light and it's too distracting, you know. But it's definitely good to have light, some kind of light offerings on your altar. But just check that up, you know, making your meditation space really comfortable and conducive and friendly for yourself. Same thing when we get, you know, so if we're going to meditate in the morning, you know, there's certain foods that might enhance our meditation, some foods that might make us more sleepy. So I know that actually for me, I find it really helpful to have tea when I meditate, to wake up and have a tea. It kind of elevates my mind, you know, it does bring my mind up. I'm sure there's some attachment there too. I'm not saying there's not, but I do find that I've checked, you know, after many, many years, it's like, no, actually, it really helps me to have not like a strong coffee. I couldn't do that. I'd be zipped out, you know, but for me to have a light black tea with milk, it really helps me for my meditation. So not to be too tight on ourselves. What's helping us? Our comfort, our seat, it'd be better on a seat or a cushion. You know, what kind of lighting? You know, when we meditate, what supports? You know, even Lama Tisha would say black tea. He said it really supported. They used a lot, but they drank a lot of black tea, butter tea. But it was the basis was black tea. There was a little bit of caffeine, can help to support the mind. Maybe some of us are better with herbal tea. Some of us are better with hot water. Maybe some of us are better not to drink at all. You know, when we go into meditation. So checking just these practical things out. What supports our meditation practice? And diet does become quite important. You know, we're not at the high level. So the level, you know, exercise, diet, these things do impact our mind and our meditation for sure, you know, at our level. That's why they do generally in the Tibetan tradition. I mean, a lot, you get up and okay, we're doing 3 prostrations, but typically most of the lamas would do 100 prostrations in the morning because then your mind's kind of clear, you know, for meditation. And then His Holiness had this practice of also doing, I don't know what time, because His Holiness got up at something like 3:30 in the morning. And at some point, and he would meditate, I mean, he still does, I think, 3:30 in the morning. There's actually videos of His Holiness getting up in the early days. And, you know, like 10, 20 years ago, and His Holiness had a walking machine. So he would be reading texts and walking and sitting and meditating. He spent many hours meditating. So he would do a variety of exercises, prostrations, and sitting and meditating. So just trekking up. I mean, of course, you have this 9-round breathing exercise, so that helps to clarify the mind as well. But watching what really helps to support our mind. Any habits that we feel are contributing to our practice, or are they a distraction? I mean, the other one is the phone, you know. Can we get up in the morning and maybe just not look at our phone before we do our practice? For some of us, maybe it's not possible, you know. But for others, depending on our lifestyle just now, we might be able to do that. Because as soon as you look at the phone, it's like, you know. So that's another big thing now, the phone, you know, and all the gadgets, you know, be able to avoid that for a certain time in our day where we want to meditate. Okay, what other, let me just check what else I have here. And also just checking up what's a good time. Because if we are getting more serious about our practice, when is a good time to go to bed, you know, so that when I wake up to do my practice, you know, my mind's clear, you know, I've had enough sleep. Because, you know, I mean, living around Lama Zopa Rinpoche, it was very difficult with the sleep, you know, because Rinpoche didn't sleep. But, you know, you have to be realistic. Lama Zopa Rinpoche didn't need to sleep, but we do, you know, so it's hard having a guru who doesn't sleep. But of course, we're ordinary beings, so we need to sleep, you know. So for us, we actually need the right amount of sleep, so the mind's not over foggy because we've slept too much, and it's not over foggy because we are over tired because we haven't had enough sleep. So it is true. It's like a discipline in managing our sleep, what time we go to bed, what time we get up. So if we're meditating in the morning, mind's clear, or we're meditating in the evening. So what do we need to rest a little bit before we need to meditate? It's just checking up all these things so the mind's at the best place for meditation, and we're enjoying our meditation. We feel like we got something out of it when we get off the cushion, even if it's just small, short. Yes, Asha?
Yeah, Venerable, I think good point about the phone. You're right. It is such a distraction. However, when I'm setting up, like just learning and practicing meditation now, I find it helpful to have a guided meditation and do it that way. I found a pretty good this analytical meditation from Tupten Norbuling. They have this express meditation every day. I don't join at the same time, but then I listen to it on YouTube and do that. But is the idea that we start this way, but then in the future we are able to do analytical meditations on our own? Is that the
That would be the
idea?
best. Yeah, this is what I'm going to go into. But I think, you know, as long as that's benefiting your mind, then you keep doing it, you know, and also it keeps you connected to a center, to teachers, to teachings. And so the more you do that, you get an idea how to do. And eventually, of course, you do want to be able to do more on your own. But as much as you need that guidance and support, you do it, you know, depending on the busyness of your life, because this is the next point I'm going to go on to. So the more, what else? So this is more like a bit more like, how do we keep developing our practice, you know? So one thing is we need to do is think about how we can attend. So just this module has a retreat aspect, you know, we do a few hours of in a retreat day setting, but how we want to develop and get a wee bit more skilled in our own practice, and that can take some time, you know, is by attending retreats. As you're coming, Asha, to this retreat, you get more experience there, weeks or weekends, even day longs. It's actually super important, even if we do have our own practice. I mean, look, I'm going to teachings. I've been 25 years. Every year I would go to a teaching by marriage. I would try and either do my own retreat or go to definitely attend teachings with Lama Zopa Rinpoche, my main teacher, because a lot of my years as a monastic has been in service, you know, at my teacher's house, working in centres. So I haven't had the lifestyle of just being in retreat all the time. So it's been very much working, you know, so I had to also carve out morning meditation, a little bit evening practice, and then within my life, you know, retreat time for myself, and also attending retreats and teachings. And of course, we're much more fortunate because we have this Zoom aspect now. And of course, it's great if you, of course, use your phone to listen to guided meditations. If you need to get up and do that, that's super, you know. So it's just thinking about that as well, you know, like just ways to deepen your practice. You know, can I do once a month, a retreat day in my house when I get an idea of what I'm doing, you know? Can I do a half a day? Can I do a morning, you know, of practice? And with these practices, and then maybe more reading and study and self-contemplation, and can we carve that out in our lifestyle? What can we carve out in terms of personal retreat time we're doing on our own, or attending a retreat once or twice or however time we can a year, going to centres, going to places where the energy is really supportive, like these Land of Medicine Buddha, Vajrapani, locally here or wherever. We do need to do all that, you know, it really enhances and it keeps us really inspired, because in reality out there, you know, our samsaric world's very, very strong, you know, and many people around us, they might also be nice people. There's nothing wrong with that. But how many are practicing? How many are thinking about, well, I've got karma and delusion, I need to get out of samsara. There's not a lot of people like that, you know. So we do need to keep this connection with the Sangha and go to places if we can, or in retreat environments where people are practicing together, you know, the same thing. It just gives, I mean, it's kind of obvious, you know, it's just, how can we carve some of that out in our life, you know, to support the practice? I mean, in this area, we're very lucky because there's many, many teachers come to this area. You know, so if you're able to attend, I mean, I know that they've invited Kajala. I don't know if she's coming this year. I think Serkon Sencha Rinpoche's coming to Land of Medicine Buddha. He's a great Lama. Yangtze Rinpoche comes regularly. He's a great Lama. So attending something like that alongside regular teachings, attend this, you just need to get feel like you've got the whole package that's keeping you inspired. Joe?
I'd just like to say that this has all been a lifeline for me, because with what I'm involved in, there are challenges every single day. There's no let up. So I've made people aware that before I tackle any of them, I walk my dog, I read my Buddhist texts, because they give me a lot of inspiration, and only then will I get to the stuff that invariably involves people. And but I made it clear that because I need to be as calm and as peaceful as I can to make sure that what's going on with the stuff, I can help as best I can. So I'm really finding the benefit, and as I'm prioritizing it, and I've made other people aware that, whatever it is they want me to deal with, it's going to wait until I'm, ready and peaceful. So yeah, and I'm sorry I've been a bit silly tonight. I'm very tired. I'm overtired. Yeah, but I just wanted to say that I feel the benefit every day, and I'd love nothing more than just to make stupas out of Lego and blocks and read the Dharma every day and do nothing, and walk the dog and do nothing else. I really would love to do that, but it's well, but I found a way of tackling both. But as I said, by prioritizing, getting myself in a peaceful, loving state before I engage with people and the challenges.
Thank you. Yeah, we just need to make it a priority. So thanks for sharing, and maybe you will get at some point the opportunity to do more and more practice, I'm sure you just keep making prayers for that as well. That's important. That's the request. Asha?
Venerable Angie, do you have a recommendation, like for the meditations, how we progress through the meditations? Like, for example, like when I'm doing my morning ones, I pick on YouTube and then I go through it. I like it during that moment, but I wonder if picking a new analytical, new topic every day, whether that's a good idea, or do you recommend like is there a recommended path of do this meditation for a few days, then that meditation for a few days, like some kind of a structure or something?
Yes. Did you say from the 365 days? Is that what they mean? You're taking it from there? Where do you mean you're picking it out from?
No, so the Tupten Norbuling, the New Mexico Center, so they have these express meditations every day. So I just pick any that I feel
I see, yes,
for that day. But I feel like it's like that day it helps, but overall, I don't think I'm really making any progress. It's just like all over the place.
Yes, exactly. So this is because you missed the first few modules, Asha. Do you have the book, the Lam yearbook?
No, not yet.
So can you take a note of that? It's called the Lam yearbook, and it's you can download it. Actually, you can get a copy when you come this weekend. Ask me for a copy of that.
Okay, sounds good.
And also, it's going to be really helpful for you to go through the Kopam West with Dawn, because that's going to answer quite a lot of your questions. And then using the Lam yearbook as a basis, you're going to be able to go through in a more structured way these meditations. And I'm also going to, because we're out of time, and I know the class is long tonight, I don't want to go over. So there's another part that's going to, I think, answer your question, but I think along doing the Kopam West, and then remind me to give you that book.
Yes.
Write it down.
Yeah,
and we can also talk a little bit during the retreat if you need,
okay.
To answer your question a bit more. But there's one more part. I've got a couple of more slides that we're not able to cover tonight. So I'm going to cover these in the practice day. just a little bit more how to deepen our daily, some ideas, really broaching your question as well, Asha. That's why it might be good for you to watch the recording of the practice day. Some ideas how to just keep deepening and working with our daily practice. This is what I wanted to cover now, but we've had a lot of great questions tonight, and also we did miss a class, so I'm going to use part of the practice day to cover this part. So in the practice day, we'll probably do a couple of meditations, and then we'll cover this last part that will take about 15-20 minutes, because I think there might be a few more questions. So for those of you who aren't maybe able to come at the practice day, if you want to watch the recording as well, just to get this final part of the class, but we'll have to keep working on and developing our practice, and having a sangha, attending retreats, attending teachings. You need all that, because as I say, samsara's not easy, and our life takes over. And so as Joe was saying, we need to dedicate, this is the point in the modules when you come to now we need to dedicate some time to practice, So I've really appreciated all your questions, and we will keep going in the practice day to finish off this part and do a couple of meditations to give you some ideas of practice. And as I say, personally, if you have questions, I'm always available by email. So you can contact me anytime, as we want to maybe deepen our practice more, and I can't cover it all in the session. We can do it. I'm happy to do it personally as well if you have any more questions. But hopefully we'll see some of you at the practice day on Saturday. Anything in the chat? I see there's a lot of new messages. Please, my question about...
Is practice Saturday
Okay.
or Sunday?
Practice, sorry, it's Sunday, isn't it, Bea?
Okay,
Sunday.
yeah, just want to make sure.
Sorry, was I saying Saturday? It's on Sunday, yeah, at 10:30 to 1:30. Yep, that's right. So thank you so much for all your great enthusiasm, great questions. And just going to skip this slide. Here, we'll do the dedications. So just taking a moment to just connect in with whatever we can take away from tonight from class, maybe something specific that caught our attention, dropped into our hearts maybe a little bit more, dropped into our minds with a bit more clarity. Taking that away with us to chew on a little bit more for the rest of the week. And dedicating the positive energy we've created by listening, reflecting on the Dharma together to actualize bodhicitta, and to, we've got this dedication here, sealing with emptiness, even though we maybe don't know clearly what that is, but sealing with the ultimate reality of all phenomena. Ojanju senjo rinpoche, magi panam gyurshik, yeba nyamba meba yi, gonne gondu pelwar shog. May the precious supreme bodhicitta not yet born arise. May that arisen not decline but increase more and more. Due to this virtue, may I quickly become a Guru Buddha and lead all transmigratory beings without exception to that state. So I think there was a couple of things. What did I say? I was going to ask you, I don't have a notepad here with me. Was there two things? I'm going to send recordings. Was there something else? The prostrations. I think there was something else I was going to send or do. Asha, I know we've got
Was it the mudra?
The mandala mudra.
Oh yes, I was going to send a picture of the mandala mudra and maybe a video. I'll write that down. Anything else? Was there one other thing or was that it? Maybe that was it.
I think that's quite enough.
Yeah. Okay, good. Okay, thank you so much. So I'll get this.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Very good
Jay.
class.
Thank you,
Thanks for
Jay.
answering
Thank
all the
Urs.
questions.
Thank you.
Everybody
Good night.
Sunday.
Thank
Good
you.
night.